Welcome to the Lion's Den, brought to you by Coldline Technologies. Today, we are looking at why so many meetings devolve into disputes over whose spreadsheet numbers are correct. In this episode, we explore the hidden culture of the spreadsheet underground and discuss how leaders can shift conversations from data disputes to strategic alignment. Joining us to champion the human side of data analytics is Akshaya Gurumarthi. Akshaya is a supply chain transformation expert who has spent her career helping organizations connect planning, forecasting, and business strategy. She has had a front row seat to one of the biggest challenges in modern organizations: how to stop arguing over the data and start aligning around decisions. Akshaya, welcome to the Den.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Lou. It's my pleasure.
Akshaya, picture this. It's Monday morning and the executive sales and operations meeting is about to begin. Sales has their forecast, but operations has a second, and finance has a third. Someone says, that's not my number that I have. And within minutes, laptops are opening, spreadsheets are being viewed around the room, and people are debating whose version is the right one. I've started thinking of this as the spreadsheet underground. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you?
Okay. So we are filming this podcast in New York City, right? Very near Times Square. So which is the tallest building in New York City? One World Trade Center, right? And that building is around somewhat in the 1,700 feet and like 102 floors. Apologize if my numbers are not right. But whenever you walk into that building, you just look like, oh my God, how magnificent this building is. Oh my God, look how pristine the glasses are. Look at the view. Oh my God, it's tall and strong. But one thing people forget is the basement of the building. So it's the basement of the building which makes the building stand up tall and strong, right? It's the foundation. Like if the foundation of the building is not strong, no matter how many fancy items you have in the building, it's gonna collapse and fall apart, correct? So I see when you said the word spreadsheet underground, it meant the same to me. So spreadsheet underground is not just spreadsheets, but these are like small parts of the business, which is underground, not even visible to a lot of people, but it makes the business stand strong and up tall, right? So there is a lot of invisible work done by individuals in operations, which may not be visible to like leaders 2-3 levels up from them. But it is very crucial these people have information so that the business keeps running smooth. Like for example, a receiving coordinator in the warehouse, they should have their spreadsheet for transactions history. A buyer should have all the supplier information ready in hand. A demand planner should have all their information of whatever is going to come for the next 6 months. What are the products required for me to run business? So this is very crucial for the business to keep running without crack. But one thing I personally feel where individuals do mistake is they just live in their spreadsheets. They don't even want to come up and see the world around them, right? So it's just like, hey, I have my Excel spreadsheets. I am happy with them. Like they are more focused on just updating their spreadsheet.
What is the purpose of the spreadsheet?
Exactly. Sometimes they don't even know that. Exactly. So like sometimes they are more focused on spreadsheet. They like sometimes even they would be doing the same work across 2-3 spreadsheets and they don't even realize that. So sometimes like they forget, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? Or what is the business problem I'm trying to solve? Or what am I trying to increase the business value for? So sometimes people forget this. So I understand we are like in a fast-moving business world. We have our everyday tasks and we have to fire our everyday fires. But sometimes we should make sure we take a step back and see who and why are we doing this for? And then realize, okay, I'm doing this for this. And, try to come up above the ground and make yourself visible, right? And how it impacts the business.
Yeah, I mean, the spreadsheet itself is, it is a tool. And I don't want to make it sound like, people that create spreadsheets are villains. They're not. I mean, some of them are the most dedicated people in the company.
Exactly.
But why do they need to create their own version of the truth, or their version in that spreadsheet. Why do you see that happening?
So, like, I started my career as a receiving coordinator in the warehouse. So, I used to work very closely with a buyer in my company. So, but we used to stay in the opposite sides of the building. One time I went to meet her because I forgot to give something to her. So, I was looking at her desktop and, like, literally there were icons of spreadsheets. Like, I was not even able to see the background. I was like, oh my God, why do you have so many spreadsheets? But she was very kind enough to literally open all the spreadsheet and she told me, hey, this is where I track invoices. This is where I have my backup suppliers. This is where I have my incoming shipments tracking and all that. So, and then I asked her, like, don't you think the ERP system itself should give answers for these? Like, that's what the system is for, right? But then she told me, Akshaya, that's very true. But like sometimes when leaders want answers, they don't want like hours to spend in answering the question. So they want answers in minutes. So like if I try to search in my emails and then go through the system transactions, it's very late. But if I have my information in hand, I could give it to them whenever they need. So basically what she is trying to do is she's just trying to in fact, do her job even more perfectly, right? She's trying to help the business or she's aiding her leaders to do decisions in a very timely manner. But what happens is when this tool itself becomes like, how do I say, like you mentioned, people have their own reality, right? They are just focused on their spreadsheet, but sometimes they forget to see the whole picture.
Right. The alignment of the whole company as a whole, right?
Exactly.
At what point does a helpful spreadsheet become a barrier to alignment?
Yeah, I literally I'm going to say the same set that's like you repeated before. So people start having spreadsheets as their own version of reality. So that's when it starts becoming a barrier to alignment, right? For example, we are all working in the same company, but each team has their own KPIs and has their own metrics, right? So even though we are working for the same goal or for the same destination, we have our own goals in between. Like, for example, finance makes sure, hey, you should not go over budget. Production will be like, okay, I should have proper capacity for that. And purchasing will be thinking like, okay, I need to make sure that the materials are available in front. And then logistics will be like, hey, I have to make sure I give 100% delivery. So each people have their own spreadsheet and have their own goals. But the thing is, they are not aligned with each other. Like they are all the puzzle pieces of the whole puzzle, but they don't lock in with each other to complete the puzzle. So that's when it starts becoming like a barrier to the alignment. But one thing I personally felt which has helped me is like, before like you start working on spreadsheets or even trying to make sure that your point is right, try to see who are we doing this for and what business problem we are solving this for, and also establish who the process owner is or who the decision owner is. Like if you're working on some cost analysis, make sure who's the decision owner at the final step, like who's going to pull the keys. So make and have conversation with them like, hey, I'm doing this and this is what my spreadsheet and my analysis say. Are we aligned in this?
So the conversations aren't happening.
Exactly. Sometimes like I feel like people are more just focused on their individual work rather than being collaborative with other teams.
Have you been in these meetings where these, I guess, debates happen?
Yeah.
And like, how does that affect the relationship between the different groups?
So, like, I think, like, even like in my previous company, we, like how you said in the opening line, we were sitting in an SNOP meeting. Literally, this same scenario happened. But one thing, what I understood, they were just trying to prove that their spreadsheet is right, their analysis is right. No one's saying that you're wrong, right? No one's gonna like pinpoint at you, but sometimes people don't even know what
that's not even the focus of the meeting, right?
Exactly.
So what happens to the decision making that was supposed to happen in the meeting?
Exactly. So I'll give you an analogy. So it's called, like I say, the map versus the compass analogy. So your map is the data you have in hand, right? You have all the data, you have all the analysis, but it's the compass which is going to take you to the destination. Like I need to know, am I going in north or am I going in south for me to reach the destination? So people don't, or sometimes people have their own compasses and they start diverging into their own destinations, and finally it takes you nowhere, right? And it's just people arguing, I am right, you're right. But like you mentioned, no decision gets made. Only 3 hours of your time of the day passes by.
Well, if the organizations are spending more time debating, right, rather than decision making, is it like the argument out of a fear of accountability? Is it due to mistrust of the data in the, like you said, in the ERP system? Or can it just be a data interpretation misalignment between the different teams? Like different teams look at things different ways, and that alignment can be off. Both are right, but they're different viewpoints. Or is it all? Could be all of the above. How do you see that?
So I would say it like, first of all, before any meeting, it's advisable, at least from a management standpoint, to say like, hey, we are having this meeting in order to discuss this because we have a problem in this. So make sure you guys come prepared for this. Or sometimes, obviously, when we don't get instructions, it's better when they set up a meeting, you yourself can advocate for yourself, saying like, hey, I understand that we are meeting in order to make sure that the cost analysis is right, and I am bringing in data worth of the last 5 years for all the POs for this vendor we are currently having problem with. Let me know if you guys need something else, and make sure you are visible to the people and you make sure what you are coming to the table. At least, again, we cannot influence others or we cannot influence our higher ups. The only person we could influence is the individual itself. When you know what you are doing is right, and you bring it up, that itself solves half the problem. So at least you don't want to be a part of the pie again, right?
Well, how do those leaders create environments where people can trust the shared information?
I always feel both a management or a company, it should not run based off fear, right? Like, if there is something going on, I understand there is some information which you can't pass down to like individual contributors, but at least like you can be clear and concise on what you're expecting from them, right? I look at the funnel analogy. Like, when, let's say you have a funnel in hand, so usually the water flows from up to down, right? But imagine if you're trying to pour the water from down to up. So the water is just going to spill all over the place, right? So same here. So usually the decisions, the strategies, the goal, the vision, everything needs to flow from up top to bottom down. So that's when individual contributors, and I believe like most of the people listening should be in the same level, they know what they are doing and what they are running. If that is not very clear enough, like at least make sure you're not the blocker in the funnel. Like, you make sure that what you do is very clear, concise, and consistent. So that like you being very particular on what you do and make sure you are projecting that itself will at least tell like, hey, at least we have one part of the problem solved. Let's go to the other. Or at least advocate like, hey, if you feel like everyone's just arguing, or just you try to collaborate, or you try to concise the information, saying like, hey, I understand production is having capacity issues, but purchasing is having supplier issues. So even you could suggest like, can we ask if the customer can move the on-site date by 2 weeks? Is that possible? Like, you're just a part of the puzzle. So make sure that you know what you're saying, and by not overstepping at the same time.
Right, but the data itself, like if they're not trusting the data, can there be alignment without trust?
Definitely no. Like I personally feel, if you ask me, Akshaya, is the data should be right or people should be aligned? It's 100% alignment. Because you could fix the data. Let's say there is some issues in transactions. You could go back and do the root cause analysis and get it done. But if we don't even know what is the sole purpose we are fighting for, so there is no use of fighting that the data is wrong, right?
Right. So so that's the conversations you're talking about. The alignment. People have to know, why we're here at this meeting.
Exactly. 100%.
They also have to know whatever they're talking about. If they're talking about numbers about, say, open orders, they have to know, they have to all be in alignment of what that means.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think, I can see that as, being a problem. People call it different like say my example, open orders, different ways. They look at it differently. Your numbers aren't going to match. You're not going to trust each other. You're not going to be aligned.
And I think you mentioned like each team has the problem what they are trying to solve for their team. Like for example, perfect example is an inventory report. The same inventory report, a warehouse team would look at stockouts. The purchasing team would be like, oh my God, I ordered more, but we just have 500 in the system. Finance will be like, oh my God, this is like 1 million over our monthly budget. Why do we have so much? And production will be like, we don't even have material for the current project we are running, but we have materials for other projects which we are not running in the next 6 months, right? So it's the same report, but look how people are looking at it and what they are interpreting, or maybe even what problem they are creating out of it. But if when you're coming to the meeting with that inventory data, I say like, hey, this is our inventory transaction report. We are trying to get rid of the obsolete inventory we have sitting. So in that case, everyone will just sit on that, and finance will be like, yeah, we could write it off. Production will be like, yeah, we haven't used this product in 5 years. And purchasing, maybe they could try to contact their vendors and see like, hey, we have some excess stock. Can we try to get the replacement material for this and things like that? So that even though it's one problem, people can try to solve it from their team, like how they could pitch into the play.
So once the organizations move from these like data arguments or disputes to strategic alignment, what conversations start happening then in the meetings?
First of all, the meetings will not run longer. That itself is a bigger positive outcome, right? Because you know what you're going to talk about, you know what are we here to solve. So in that case, you're not even going to have an argument, right? Because you know which marathon we are running here, right? So when there is always going to be miscommunications or misinterpretations, right? But when we just focus on the bullseye, we are going to hit the target. But only when you don't know where the bullseye is, that's when the problem starts coming up.
Yeah. For our viewers, like if there's someone that feels trapped in that spreadsheet underground where, meetings don't seem to go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially if they feel like they don't have the authority to change anything. What's one small step they could take to, move the needle to strategic alignment?
I think I myself is a victim for this. When I started my career, I also was just stuck in my spreadsheets, in my own world, in my own cute corner of the desk. But I came to, and there was one other mistake I was trying to do, is like sometimes people get confused between visibility and authority. Right? I understand, like a lot of people don't have authority to make decisions or to change decisions, and that's completely fine. But you do realize whatever you do has an impact on what decision the leaders make. So make sure that you are clear, concise, and consistent on what you say, what you do, and even how you show up in a meeting, right? That's in you. Like you are the authoritative person on how you show up to a meeting, how you send an email, how you create a spreadsheet, and things like that. So make sure you move the direction upward forward. And again, like most of the management leaders, like they also have a lot of decision fatigue in their heads, right? Make sure you are helping them to make their decisions easier, just rather than just being a reporter saying like, hey, we have a material shortage. Like say like, hey, we have a material shortage for this floor and this will impact this week's delivery. So, but we could try to expedite the delivery by paying some extra. So can we go ahead with that?
But to do that, then they'd have to understand how their work impacts the decision. They have to understand the decision that has to be made. So again, what you said earlier, a more big picture awareness.
Exactly.
Step out of your role of just your spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Know how your work affects downstream, how it affects executive decisions.
Exactly.
And same for the people maybe above you that are handing you something. They'd have to know on their end. I guess leadership would have to get involved to basically educate their team.
Of course. Like one more thing, at least for me, I have always been a curious person ever since I started. I make sure that I take a step and talk to people who are not even in my team, who are maybe cross-functional teams. Like I always try to talk with project management, with warehouse, with accounting people. So because knowingly or unknowingly, you directly or indirectly affect other departments too, whatever you do or whatever your spreadsheet interprets, right? So try to see how you and your other teammates form the puzzle or complete the puzzle. So that itself will help you maybe give better insights to your spreadsheet itself. Spreadsheet is just a sheet of rows and columns, right? It is you who or your results is gonna make value. The Excel sheet doesn't make value. It's what decisions or what conversations are made out of this is what creates.
Right. So, cross-functional teams have an advantage because, they're seeing what other people are doing. They're in meetings with other people. You've handled data analytics, so you're grabbing information from multiple places. Does that help? Has that helped you understand the bigger picture?
Yes and no. Again, obviously numbers don't lie, data don't lie, right? So you're going to pull in the data and then create your own reports, and that'll give you some insights. But again, just the data and the insights alone, it can help you form conclusions. But it's better, let's say you're pulling an invoice report. It's better you go and talk to that, whoever the buyer who's responsible for the invoices and ask hey, I was doing some analysis on this and I found out this. Does this make sense to you? I just want to make sure that we are in the same page. So, and then probably even he or she might have some information which will help you aid your analytics more, right? Hey, yeah, those numbers seem correct. This is what happened in the last 2 years. That's right. Or if, let's say, if they say, no, this is not right, probably you could start digging more rather than trying to give false information to the leadership and again creating some issues or again data arguments because of that.
So I think we keep coming back to that. So communication is key. We keep coming back to communicating.
100%. I have worked with managers who are very on point. Hey, I want you to do this and come to me with these. So they will give step 1, 2, 3. But on the other hand, sometimes there are some managers who don't give you that strategy. In that time, you have to be the person who is giving the strategic alignment. I'm not saying dictate to the leadership, but say hey, I know you asked me to do this. I am going to proceed in this way so that we get answered for this. So does this seem okay to you? So you be your own host.
Yeah, I remember, starting a new job and then asking questions to understand, how things are done. And one of the worst answers I hate hearing is why is this done? And, that's because that's how we always do it.
Oh,
hate
my God.
that.
Yes.
And that just plays to what you were saying. When your head's just tunnel vision, that's the answer you're going to get. And that does not help alignment.
Yes.
So I could see communication is key.
Yes.
And that understanding in the communication as far as, to get that alignment.
Yeah. Sometimes, to be honest, you need not even spend hours digging a spreadsheet. It could have just been a 10-minute conversation with your colleague or another experienced person in another department who has been working with the same issue for years or who has been working with the same department for years. Yeah. It's you trying to see the New York skyline. So you want to see the whole skyline, right? So if you're seeing the whole skyline, you have to broaden your vision. If you just focus on one building, you're just going to see that one building.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Akshaya. If the biggest takeaway I would say is it's not so much the spreadsheet itself.
No.
It's, that alignment.
Exactly.
That communication to get the alignment. And then the subsequent trust. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in where most of the meeting is wasted. And the last 5 minutes is where a decision is squeezed in. And like you said earlier, if we have the alignment, you either could cut down the meeting considerably or eliminate it if it's just a 10-minute conversation.
Yes.
To move things along.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think one thing which personally helped me, I know it can be a little unconventional, but people should have a goal apart from their apart from their work. Sometimes I feel we are all so invested only towards our job. So we just think about it. I myself have done that in the past. I would literally just think about that one spreadsheet or about that one report that I'm building at. But sometimes we have to take a step back and then try to see, maybe trying to take your mind off from it would give you better insights from it. The more you try to stay in the problem, in the vortex of the problem, you're going to be in the problem itself, right? Take a step back, have a goal outside of your work, and probably that'll help you take your mind off so that it'll help you give better decisions for the same problem you're trying to solve. Just you go to sleep one day and the next day you wake up like, oh, that's what I was talking about, right? So yeah.
Well, thank you, Akshaya, for the masterclass on the human side of data analytics and your insights on the spreadsheet underground you've given us in the den today. Before we wrap up, for our listeners who want to know more about you, what you have going on, I'm giving you 60 seconds. The mic is all yours.
Hi, everyone. So I started posting in LinkedIn related to data analytics and supply chain just because I had some time outside of work. And this has helped me to make sure that I was able to connect with a lot of people in across various levels in supply chain. So I am in the works of creating a forum called Navigate. So that will help individuals to create and to connect and to communicate and create what they are building in supply chain to make sure that they're not alone. So just not only on how the business domain is, the data analytics skills, and also the soft skills as well, what is required for you to thrive in what you do in supply chain and data analytics. So please feel free to follow me in my LinkedIn page, Akshaya G, and for more updates and announcements. Thank you.
I want to thank Akshaya again for joining us and sharing her insights. This conversation was a reminder that the biggest challenge isn't necessarily the spreadsheet itself, it's creating alignment, it's building trust, and making sure everyone is working toward the same outcome. If today's discussion resonated with you, share the episode with someone who's ever found themselves saying, that's not the numbers I have. Because the best organizations don't spend their time arguing over the data. They spend their time making better decisions together. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and hit the bell to be notified every time we upload. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you next time in the Lion's Den.